All right, shalom, shalom to the nation of Israel, shalom, all right? This is your brother Kazaki out of Great Millstone, the wall is coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and power, Yahweh Shem Shah, right? But prior to getting started, we want to give all infinite honor and glory to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Harakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, who rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? And the title of today's lesson is going to be From the Fall of One Kingdom to Another. All right. That's the title of today's lesson. Is going to be From the Fall of One Kingdom to Another. All right. And what you see up here is basically, the fall of, Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white man. All right. Who has had rulership within both of these kingdoms. As you can see, one named to the left, the fall of the Roman Empire. And then, to the right, you see the fall of the American Empire. All right. You have the Roman Empire. Okay. And then you have basically the revised, Roman Empire, or, Rome 2.0. Okay. And that's what these people are afraid of, man. These devils are afraid of what? The fall of the American Empire. Okay. Because, the knowledge, the wisdom and understanding, the truth, the love of the Lord, they don't have any of those things, right? They don't have any comforter, right? God is their money, and right now, the country, itself is basically, being divided. Okay. Now this is all, the Lord's doing. Okay. He has, magnificent, and, wonderful, right, within his power. But both of these kingdoms, are basically, were wicked kingdoms. Okay. And this is just, it's just art, but striking, details, in the two. Okay. And I actually want to kind of, because I kind of can't see it, but I want to zoom in here. And I want to read the bottom of just what it says at the bottom of causes. Okay. And it says moral decay, which is, basically on both sides, corruption, right? And I'll just speak on moral decay. We're seeing a moral decay now. Okay. All right. We're definitely seeing that, right? We're seeing the fall of Esau, Edom's, right? His witchcraft, right? His wickedness, his sorcery, like over the people. Okay. And we say this all the time, but there were times where Esau, could get in front of TV and make an immaculate speech, right? Wearing his suit and tie and having that high, proud look and mentality to him, okay? And the people will soak it up, right? And in some ways, some people are still trying to soak it up because President DJ Nero 47, okay, was supposed to basically be the last, great white hope, right? Basically, long story short, if this guy doesn't get it right, then, America itself will surely crumble, okay? And we're basically seeing him, do what? Go back and forth. One day he's talking about, having a deal, coming through and making progress and, just doing all the right things. He's telling the people all the things that they want to hear. But, that's not the case, right? You'll see basically Israel, they'll make a strike happen or something, right? In the midst of his talking, right? And that's what these devils do, man. They play games, right? They lie, all right? That's just the natural nature of them, okay? And what was the second one? Corruption, right? We see, corruption, obviously within both kingdoms, but, we'll target specifically toward, this fallen kingdom that's, going to be happening on the right, because that's the time frames, all right, that we're into, okay? And the whole system's corrupted, all right? The so-called system of justice, law, right? um, down to even the judges, the officers, right? Everything about this system is corrupted. It was designed to be corrupted, right? You know, you know, when they talked about things within the system like free man in the land and freedom. Uh, it was including the Israelites. Okay, it wasn't including you so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian man, woman, and child. Okay, this was mainly in reference to Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white man. Okay, all right. Let's go to the next thing. It says underneath causes, it says government overreach. Okay, and we're basically, seeing that now because ultimately, what they want to do is they want to get rid of the so-called laws, you know. Okay, that's ultimately because there's certain laws, out there that basically give people the right to do things they don't really want them to do anymore. Okay, and freedom of speech is one of them, right? Right now we're able to get online, okay, and we be able to talk about the wickedness, of the kingdoms and different things are like and different things like that and prophesied against them. But there's going to be coming a time where we won't be able to do those things. It will be outlawed, right? So all those different laws that's in place that so-called protect like human rights and things of that nature, that's out of there, right? They want complete control over the people, all right? And the word government actually just means, basically just means mind control, okay? When you have something that governs something, right? Govern means to control, and the word meant, goes back into mental. So, right, they want to control what? The minds of the people, man. They want you to be a slave to the system, okay? Ultimately, okay? And we have economic collapse, right? We're seeing that. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but, we have the collapse of what? The $1 bill, less, I say a $1 bill, the digital, the currency, right? And we're moving towards what? A digital currency. So, out with the old and in with the new. Okay, and on this digital currency, it will be tied to what? The MOTB, right? That's going to be, the ultimate currency. And if you don't have this MOTB, the mark, I would say, then you're going to be ousted for society. But the economy is collapsing. The people are against each other. Everybody is just, the spirits of the people are just waiting for that one last final big thing to happen to where people just completely lose it. They just, it's, you know what they say in the world, survival of the fittest, every man for himself, right? But we got comfort, okay? We got comfort. And then Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. We're going to get the scriptures in just a second, right? On, basically these kingdoms, man. Both of these kingdoms are wicked as hell, man. And, rightfully so, they have to pay, for the things that they have done. It says loss of faith and identity. Ain't too much to say on that, Because I'll read. It says in the picture it says in God we trust, and then it says divided underneath. But really, they the so-called Americans don't trust or believe in the God of the Bible. Okay, that's not who they believe in. They actually believe their God is actually Satan. So the devil, right? Because when we go through these scriptures and we tell them, and break it down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, starting at the elders and apostles at Great Millstone on down, and tell them what the truth is, they deny it and don't accept it, right? Because like I said, their God is basically, fictitious, right? He's made up, okay? It's a bunch of BS, right? Which we go into Cesare Borgia, son of Pope Alexander the Sixth of Rome, and things of that nature, right? Uh, which is, in so many words, BS. Okay, that's not a true, accurate depiction of the Lord and what He represents, right? So for you so-called Christians, Baptists and Catholics, right? We're Catholic going back to universal, making things. It kind of gives you that what they call that, kind of like that all-inclusive feel. That's where they get all of that stuff from. Okay, you know, they you're basically living a lie. Okay, because if the image is a lie, everything that comes with the image is also a lie, man. All right. And it says division from within and without. Like I said earlier, we got division, within the nation. You got the red, you got the red versus the blue, if you know what I'm talking about. And, the people are just divided in general, right? Everybody who doesn't have this truth, they don't know what to believe in, right? They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do, right? The Lord just has them in whatever spirit that He wants to have them in, right? The scriptures say that He would give them strong delusions that they should believe a lie, right? And look, 2/3 those people believing in lies. Esau is definitely out of there, and so are the other nations, right? You need this truth, man. You need this truth. You need this comforter, right? You need Yahweh Shem Shai to protect you, to have a hedge about you, or to have a hedge about yourself. All right. See here. It was another picture here, and just to give you, again, this is just all art and just all imagery, pulled up. As you can see, the fall of, one empire, same thing, to the fall of another empire, man. Two kingdoms are falling that would perfectly intertwine, right? And in so many ways. And it says, I'm just taking a look over here to the right. It says, money is God, truth is hate, right? And that's true too, right? The true truth, Yahweh Bashim Shah. I'm talking about the real truth, right? The Lord say, I am the way, the truth, and the light, man. Okay, and that's hate, man. Okay, the things that we tell them, as far as prophesying the downfall of the kingdom, okay, that's hate, right? And it's going to be considered hate. It's going to be outlawed, okay? All right, and you can see, the American flag. You see the bombs, the nuclear destruction, right? Which is prophesied within the scripture too as well. And, all those companies, man. Big, you see the big companies. You see the soldiers, okay? Like I said, you see Disney, Nike, looks like Coca-Cola, so on and so forth, right? You see the pride, right? We're not going to get into that, but you know what that's all about, and things of that nature, all right, man? And, let's just go, get the scriptures, all right? Real quick, this is Job 400, verse 8. It says, even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same, right? And we're going to read the same verse in the GNT. It says, I have seen people plow fields of evil, and plant wickedness like seed. Now, okay, they harvest wickedness and evil, all right? So that's what we're coming up on, man. The time frame for the people to basically, let's get this, instead of just quoting it, right? All right, this is Galatians 6 and 7. It says, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Okay, so, it says, I'll read the same verse in the GNT. It says, do not deceive yourselves. No one makes a fool out of God. You will reap exactly what you plant. So if you went around the earth, raping, robbing, right, murder, pillage, plundering, right, you basically going around the earth and doing all manner of wickedness, you're gonna reap the same thing, man. Okay, you're gonna receive of your doings, man. Okay, and this is what the Edomites are afraid of. They are crashing completely out on having to reap what they sow, man. Right? They can't see it. They don't want to see it. Okay, they're trying to basically, in so many words, avoid and escape, uh, judgment, right? But the judgment is set, okay, and there's no turning back. The hand, right? The power of the Lord, man. Okay, which is gonna go forth, soon, right? And He's already breaking these people down. Okay, it's just that simple. All right, this is Proverbs 22 and verse 8. It says, "He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity," right? And it says, "And the rod of his anger shall fail." Okay, same verse real quick in the GNT. It says, "If you plant the seeds of injustice," right? It says, "disaster will spring up and your possession of others will end." Okay, okay, East Edomites, like I said, starting with them first, right? Because it's all the nations too, but you Edomites are going to get it, man. Right? We saw the fall of the Roman Empire, right, which was ran by you devils, okay, and this empire, okay, the American Empire, or whatnot, that kingdom will also fall too, man. Right? It's prophecy, and you can't get around it. All right. And these are the days and the times, that we're waiting on. Okay. Let's see here. Go ahead and get another precept. Slakia, bear with me. The one I want to get. Oh, yes. This is, I'll read verse 14. This is Revelation 11 and verse 14. It says, "The second war is past," right? We have basically 2 world wars, all right? And it says, "In the third war coming quickly." So we're coming up on that third world's war to destroy that second empire, which was America, man, over to the right, right? If you can remember the image, it had the nuclear destruction, okay, in the background, all right? That ICBM missile, going off to do what? To lay the land waste, man. Okay, because right now America has a hand in everything, right? They now they're talking about basically going to Cuba, which is pretty much the last stop shop, right? That was on the list of whatever X nations, right? And this is all about a control, right? Starting the enterprise, starting the NWO, so to speak. You need complete control, right? You can't have anything that's sovereign, right? So that's why they're going into these different, and other reasons too. Oil, right? They come with democracy and republicanism, but it's all just for control in general, over everything, right? Verse 15, it says, "And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his anointed," right? "And he shall reign forever and ever," right? And right when the third world's war, enter into its climax, with all the nations fighting and everybody giving it all they got, so to speak, we're going to see Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh send his son back, right? Yahweh being the true name of the Heavenly Father too as well, okay? He is Yahweh Shai, being the deliverer, okay? He delivers, okay? Back to save the elect of the nation of Israel, man, which is going to be a beautiful thing, right? Both those wicked kingdoms that we saw and we spoke about, they're going to fall. And you so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole, Indian, man, woman, and child, your kingdom is set to come, right? So now is the time to get right with Yahweh Shem El Shai, while you can, all right? Let's go here. All right. This is Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 8. It says, "He that diggeth a pit and fall into it," so like it says that he that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whosoever breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. And I read the same verse here in the GNT. It says, if you dig a pit, you fall into it. If you break through a wall, a snake bites you. Okay, and this, these devils, right? They basically dig the pit, man, right? And wanting people to fall into their pit, right? The snares, the traps, okay, the lies, the deception, right? That they, basically, have put forth in the world, man. Okay, but they're the ones that's gonna fall into the own pit that they have dug, man. All right, you're gonna fall into your own snare, your own trap. The Lord says He's gonna destroy you by your own, basically, devices, your wickedness. Okay. All right. Let's go here. All right. This is 2 Timothy 2 and verse 3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means." Right. And it's we're dealing with a, basically, a very clever devil, man. All right, a very clever deceiver, right? And it says, "For the day shall not come except there be a falling away first, and that man of sin," right? We talked about the man of sin, Esau, Edom, right? The Edomites, right? The man of sin be revealed, right? And he's being revealed right now, man. Right? Nobody's believing nothing he's got to say. Everybody's, um, everybody's, waking up to basically his BS, man. Say, nah, man, you lying, you're not telling the truth, and he's just being exposed left and right for being the fraud that he is, for being a liar, right? And it says the son of perdition, right, which means destruction, right? Because the Edomites, Esau, Edom, okay, they're set for what? Destruction. Okay, all right. The other nations are going to get they, just desserts too, but Esau in particular, he's got a lot to pay for, right? A whole lot. All right. All right. Let's go here. Probably close it out. Yeah. Well, all right. This is Jeremiah 50 and verse 22. It says, "A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction." It says, "How is the hammer, right? The hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation? So like a desolation among the nations." Okay. Right, and the hammer of the whole earth is America, man. America has gone forth, to nation after nation after nation, right? And basically just, in so many words, have overtaken those lands, man, right? And he comes sometimes, try to comes meek, so to speak, peaceable, docile, you know, come try to, strike a deal with you, man. But really, war is in his heart, like what the scriptures say. Like he's sent there to take, basically take you out. Because the moment you don't agree with the things that he's proposing to you, he then wants to take you out, man. Okay, eventually he's looking for a way to overthrow you, no matter where he goes. Okay. All right, but the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, is going to stop this devil, man. Okay, he's going to bring them, to an end. All right. All right, this is verse 24, and it says, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord." Okay, the Lord has laid a trap, man. It's laid a trap for you people. All right. And it's the end result, basically, of that trap, man. Okay, the Lord's gonna, come back, with fire. Like what he said, man. He said, basically, roughly paraphrasing, I come to set fire on earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? Okay, so, this is it, man. This is the fall of one empire or one kingdom to the fall of another. That's set to happen really soon in the future. Okay, but that's pretty much all I have. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying first and foremost to the hopeful elect. The pride of getting out of here, we want to give all infinite honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Arachakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be to the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? Kwam Yasha Allah, Ababa Ball.